Say good evening, my friends. Nice to see you again. It's Thursday. Time to meditate. See if I can get comfortable. I'm still having some issues with my knee, so I have a little bit of a hard time with the sitting. It's annoying. It's just so much easier when you can sit cross-legged. It's like I said last time, you get used to sitting cross-legged. You just need to sit cross-legged, and then you get into like a deep, calm meditation state. So it's really nice when you can get that to work properly. Mats, nice to see you, Mats. How's it going with the new job? Is it going okay? Or you did get a new job, right? If I remember correctly. But yeah, anyway, it's always nice to have a posture that you can feel comfortable in. And when the body's not working, then you have to adjust after the body, because if you don't, then yeah, that's generally a really bad idea. Who else is here tonight? Mats, it's really nice to see you. I was talking about you the other day that I have my regulars who come, but then they all get stuff they need to do. And I think Tim he started, is it jiu-jitsu or MMA training or something? We all have things to do. Last week I was away, and then it was difficult to get it to work, but it was really nice to just get out there and do it. Let's see. New job starts in July, so still trying to make the best of my free time while I still have it. Yeah. When you get working more full time, it's that balance of working, having free time, and now I know you don't have a family, but if you have family, then you have to spend time on your family and then your extra stuff. I love doing this YouTube channel, and I wish I had more time to do it. But there's just not enough time, since it doesn't really give me any income. It's more because I enjoy doing it. But there's like a limit to how much I can do just for fun. But it gives me a lot of joy. And especially these sittings are really nice. It gives me a regular time to sit with others, even though I sit every evening by myself. It's just different sitting together as a group like this. And I do enjoy doing the videos. I have one that I really I'm happy with, the one that's coming out this weekend, if I have time to film it, because I have other stuff going on. So it's a constant balance with time. You have to find enough time to do what you want to and what you feel you also need to do. And obviously we need to meditate a lot. I bought an e-bike and rode 300 kilometers in a week. Holy crap, that's a lot. Got addicted and always missed the meditation because I was out riding. Well, that's a good reason to miss the meditation. Yeah, that's far. I used to do like those racing bikes, where you pedal, no electric, but just normal racing bikes. And I was never really that good, because I don't have that kind of stamina. But I have a friend who works at Trek, like one of those really big bike places. And whenever they went out biking, they would go, in one session, they'd go 100 to 150 kilometers. No, wait, am I saying that right? Yeah, 100 to 150 kilometers. That was like what they would do in a day trip. And their average speed would be like 45 kilometers an hour. I don't know, like just insane. It would be my top speed, would be their average speed for a whole day. So I could never come with them, because I simply didn't have the kind of legs and stamina that they had in that. But I can sit still for really long. I'm sure they can't do that. No. My butt hurts thinking about, it does. Like I would do, the furthest I would do would be like, I think I did 70 kilometers or something in one session. This is like a long time ago, a few years ago. But I remember the butt really gets sore because it shaves. Yeah, like it hurts when you sit that long. Vukasin Josik, hey. A new member. I've seen you before. I don't recognize the name. Maybe I have, and I just forgot about it. Nice to have you here. Hope you'll have a good time and come meditate with us. Today is Thursday, so today it's not guided meditation today. Today we just sit together, and we have, as normally Mondays, we do the guided meditations where I guide you. And I haven't been here before. Nice. It's always nice to have new people. So on Thursdays we just sit together, and we sit for 20 minutes, and then before we have a little bit of a chat, but then especially after we do questions and answers. And it's like I normally say, it's not satsang where I just sit and lay down the Dhamma or the truth to you. it's a conversation, and I share my experiences from my practice, and then people give their input from what they've done. I did Sam Harris meditation course, and now I like meditation. Cool. I know Sam Harris. Sam Harris, I keep confusing. There are two brothers, like, there's the guy, is he the one who's on YouTube, or is he the one who started that app? Mindful, no, what's it called? I don't know. But I know that one of them, there's two brothers, if I remember correctly, right? Cool, was it good? Did you like it? Well, obviously you like meditation now, so I'm assuming that it did something for you. Waking up, I believe. Okay, I have to look at that. I mean, I know Sam Harris. Is Sam Harris the one who makes the documentaries on YouTube? I mean, I watched quite a few of those. Those are really well done. And I know he has Waking Up is okay. That's the mindfulness app. But that's his brother, right? Because I think there's two of them. Yeah, cool. I'll check that out. I'm thinking about making my own course, and well, I have lots of things I would like to do, but one of them I would like to do is just a really basic, because people, in my opinion, overcomplicate meditation so much, that I just like to do a really basic course that will make it easier for people who come and want to sit with us here, that they have some kind of, just like a simple, and it would probably be just a free course or a really cheap course. So it's just basics. And then I have lots of ideas for other tangents and how to apply that into daily life. But it's just a matter of time. And eventually I'll get there. I think first I have to start some kind of feedback. I'll have to start a course and then ask people what they want, and then try to develop something. Because if I just start it, then it's not certain it'll be what people actually want. Sam Harris is a podcast debate guy. Yeah, there's those two brothers. Cool. Yeah, it's nice with courses. And I think it's great because when I started out, like when did I leave Sweden? 2007. I mean, YouTube was not really, was it a thing then? I don't think it really was. I remember I had a channel that got monetized, and I was like, nah, monetized, like what's that? Like that's yeah. And I think you had to have 1,000 views or something like that. I can't even remember. And I just I skipped that, and I never really got into them. But then you couldn't really get the kind of information you can today. Today it's insane. There's just so much stuff, and unfortunately there's so much bad stuff. But there is also a lot of good stuff, and you can have direct interaction like this. I mean, there were no live streams that you could watch 2007 if you wanted to learn how to meditate. You had to go away kind of or go to at least some place and meet someone, and there is an advantage and something to be said about actually going somewhere and meeting someone and sitting with them, because I believe this is one step up from just watching a guided meditation, because I also don't really like guided meditation. I never did. For some people it works great, but for me it never did. So I think this is one step up, where you actually have live people sitting with you, and just a discussion like this, it makes it feel real, because it is real. It's someone else sitting there. I know that when I'm talking now, I'm not just talking to a phone. I mean, I've spoken to Mats so many times that I feel like he's my friend, and we've never met, but like you have a conversation and you get to know people, and there's other people who come regularly, and you just get comfortable with each other, and then you sit together, and then people go, and then they come, and it's just it's a different thing from just going and having a one-directional route when you're meditating. I'm seeing actually that time moves for some reason. That is really strange, isn't it? So it's actually getting time to start. Just take off my socks. Let's see. My knee is, like I said, still not feeling happy, so I'm going to see if I can get it comfortable. Always, I mean, never, ever push yourself beyond what you can take. When I was a monastic, we sat a lot with pain, and there was this thing almost that it's better the more pain you sit with, and that does has its purpose, but in the long run, it's probably not good for you. Let's see, I'm just going to read this first, what Vukasin is saying. I am new to meditation, but I already feel much calmer in stressful situations, as if I discovered a button that I press and instantly become detached and more calm and rational. That's cool. Did you see the video I made I think was it my last video? Oh no, 2 videos ago. The calmness button. I actually talked about this, because even though I think that's I normally don't talk about it like that because that's not actually, in my opinion, the purpose of it, but that's what people want to begin with, and then they do that, and then you find out that that's like a good gateway drug to start with meditation, because you want to be able to calm down and be less. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying there's more to it that you'll discover the more you meditate. Cool. So we start with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is we say out aloud, and it's important that you say it out aloud if you can. If you're in a place where you cannot talk out aloud, then just say it to yourself. But what we're trying to do is actually stop and focus our awareness. We'll say 5 things that we can see, and we say, like, I see a remote control, and I stop and I notice I am seeing. And then you say 4 things that you can touch. I can touch the sofa, and you really feel touching the sofa. It's not about doing this quickly, it's really about stopping and coming to your senses. And then we say 3 things that we can hear, so you listen, and you have to listen for sounds. And that's also, the further we go, the more we calm down to the senses, because it's senses that you need to focus a bit more to be aware. And after that we do 2 things that we can smell, and you have to smell for 2 things. And then lastly we take 1 thing that we can taste, so that's the 5 senses. In Buddhism there actually is 1 more sense, but that one's completely active all the time for most people, so I don't know if it would help to include that in the exercise. I'll think about it. Maybe that's something we could do in the future. So just say it out loud together with me, and then afterwards we'll start the meditation. So I can see a pair of headphones. I can see a pen. I see a lock to the door. I can see a spaceship. And I see a light bulb. Those are 5 things that I could see. Now I can feel the carpet on the floor. I can feel the mouse lying here. And I can feel my thermos. I can feel this cloth lying over me. And then we do 3 things that we can hear. And now we have to focus a bit harder to be able to hear things. I can hear my computer fan. I can hear the cars driving on the road, and it's been raining, so they make a different sound than when they drive and it's not been raining. And I hear birds chirping. Then we do 2 things that we can smell. I smell stuffy, something like stuffy, like carpet, maybe the carpet a bit stuffy. And I smell rain, summer rain. And then lastly we do 1 thing that we can taste. I can taste rooibos from my rooibos tea. So in this sitting, I won't be talking or guiding you. You'll be sitting by yourself. But if you want to, what you can focus on is that we try to focus on slices of now, like I call it. So if you're observing your breath, you try to observe not breath happening in a circle, but small slices of breath happening all the time. We've gone through this in the other meditations, and if you haven't heard it before, we'll go through it later. So just do whatever you feel like, but try focusing on this part of the breath, or this part of whatever you're meditating. So you're not spreading out your awareness, but just focusing here, right now. If you want to, you can, as usual, just keep on meditating, or you're welcome to answer questions. I always say that a good meditation is not necessarily one where you feel calm and where everything just feels nice and easy. But it is very nice when it happens. Today was I've had a long, tough week. And today was such a nice calm sitting. It must be Matt's superpowers. Since he's back from his bicycle ride, makes us all calm. Oh, nice to see you, Jack. Hey, cool, we have Jack here also. So, it is nice when things are calm, but that's not really the main aim. The main aim is taking away these distortions we have, which makes us constantly react towards things, and then gradually things will just get easier. But it is very nice when it happens. Let's see, Wukasin. I didn't get the instruction about the breath slices, but I went along and just focused on my breath. Good. It's something that I do. I realized that when I was saying it, that since you were new, it would have been better if I actually waited with that. Well, there's usually someone who's new, but basically it's when we observe the breath, which is what we do on Mondays, then we focus, we say an in-breath, and we do an out-breath, and then there's a pause, and then we do an in-breath, and there's a little turnaround where there's also usually a pause, an out-breath, pause. And what happens when you observe the breath is that you start seeing it as a circle. Kind of, it's this thing going in, and you're moving in and out, and that's very concentration meditation. You kind of lull yourself into becoming calm, and you're just focusing on the light, on your breath, on this, whatever you're using as your object of meditation, and you kind of make yourself kind of forget about what's happening. But what we're trying to do here is become more aware of now. We're trying to collapse time perception, so we're just observing now, now, now. And the way that you do that is when you observe the breath, instead of seeing it like a big cycle going around, you try to see it as like, or it's just, because if you take this, I mean, breath does go like this, that's true, but if you take this slice, then it's just breath, and here it's breath, and here is breath, and here is breath, and here is a pause, nothing is happening, and then it's breath, 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 pause, 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 and breath, breath, breath. So it will feel a bit staccato in the beginning, and it will almost feel like, oh, that's almost like it's like a ride that's not really smooth. But that's when you get used to it in the beginning. But after that, you'll see that it's amazing how it brings you into just focused awareness of now. And it raises your concentration in a way that you kind of can't do when you just do the lulling thing, because concentration meditation usually makes it a bit dull. Not dull, groggy would be a better way of saying it, like a bit like off in a good way. So if you come Monday, I'll give the instructions again and be a bit clearer about it. Let's see, Jack Crash was asking, are Buddhist monks focus still on achieving enlightenment, or is it part from times long ago when we still had the technology? So when I was a Buddhist, I mean, in the monastic world, the majority of people didn't think that you could. It depends on how you saw it. When you were with the Burmese, I practiced a lot in the Burmese tradition of Mahasi Sayadaw, which was a technique that focused on really intensive vipassana meditation. And they had stages of insight, like you had the Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arahant. They had those stages, and they had very clear instruction for when you achieved each. So you would complete one of the cycle, the jnanas that I talk about sometimes. When you complete one of those, then you're a Sotapanna. You enter the stream. And that makes a lot of sense, because when you do that, it was like someone pulled a plug on me, and things just started happening by themselves. And then the second time you go through the cycle, then you're sort of a Sakadagami, and then after there's some other criteria for Anagami, and then after that it becomes very diffuse, and it's difficult to get anyone to tell you what it actually means when you're an Arahant. But it's most definitely not what they describe in the books. That's not the kind of enlightenment we're talking about. So I very quickly realized that, well, this is not what I was looking for. Not that I was looking for was in the books, but there was still suffering. There was still this distortion, this like, oh, I'm not okay now, I need to move somewhere else. I could, through focusing my mind really sharply on now, not have so much of that, but that was not what I was looking for. So to answer your question, Jack, if you go with the people who meditate very intensely, they'll probably believe that some kind of version of enlightenment is possible. If you go to most scholar monastics or temple monks, like they're called sometimes, then they say, no, you can't get enlightenment now. You just follow the precepts and you do your best, and then you'll be reborn into some better lifetime in the future. Pretty much, it's people basically don't believe you can. And what even is enlightenment? There's like 50 different definitions of what enlightenment is. I have a very clear and simple definition for me, which is the end of distortion, meaning that we don't push and pull towards things around us. You don't feel that distortion towards reality. You're basically just dropping away any sense of self, and then life becomes truly here and now in a way that's difficult to explain. Magical without having anything different about reality. It's just magical being alive and experiencing your senses. See, Mats is saying, I had a very rough meditation. Maybe you just sapped my concentration energy. How rude. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I think I did, because really for me, this is the calmest I've had in a week, it feels like. So I must have done that. I apologize. Very kind of you, though. Stephen, nice to have you here again, Stephen. What even is enlightenment? Is it when you overcome all distortions possible on earth? So yeah, that's basically what I said. Like, for me, I don't use the term enlightenment. I use the term non-distorting. I don't really have a term. It would be liberation. And it's not really that you overcome all distortions possible on earth. It's that you just stop doing distortion. Like, you can, when you start doing this more and start saying like, hey, wait a minute, I'm the one doing this. I realized now, even before I came here, I was inside, and I was, what was I doing? I was making food for the kids, I think. No, I was cleaning up after the kids had eaten. That's what I was doing. And then my mind started thinking about, oh, it's going to be nice sitting again. And then I had this, like, this feeling, oh, it's going to be nice. I'm going to be sitting, and Mats is going to be there, Jack is going to be there, Steven is going to be there, and we're going to have some new people. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so... That's a distortion. It's a very comfortable distortion, but it is still a distortion. It's something that kind of distorts you away from being here, and you kind of feel this like, oh, it's so nice, this distortion. And then but if you would actually see what your eyes do when you observe this, you'll see that you're not seeing super sharp. It's like there's a little of some kind of a veil. It's almost a bit blurry. You're not really focused. You can also notice it that when you look at something, your eyes kind of hop around. They're never still. Whereas when you get closer to non-distortion and not doing this, the eyes just stay still. It's like against biology almost, it seems, because I think the eyes are supposed to move around, but they just stop doing that. There's some kind of resting state in all of this. So for me, I don't talk about enlightenment. There's no magical stuff. It's simply taking away this distortion towards the world around you and just focusing now. And feeling what you're doing now, feeling that you're distorting towards something. And when you learn how to drop that away, you'll become more aware of your senses. And when you become more aware of your senses, you're realizing that this distortion, if we have reality and how you want reality to be, your desired reality or your want for reality to be a certain way, the thing happening here between, that is the distortion, and that is what contains the self. The self is not a concept. Well, it can be, but it's not really a concept. It's an actual feeling. So you don't take away the self by reasoning or like try to figure things out. There are things you can do that can kind of make the self drop away like that, but ultimately the sense is a self feeling. It's something you feel, and that you can touch and you can take that away. And it's very scary because we all want to have all these amazing experiences where I'm still there. I'm the one experiencing this. So it's quite scary getting away from this. But yeah, that would be my definition of that. What other people want to call enlightenment, like I said, there's 45 or 50 definitions that I've read about that are just from Buddhism, I think. Is that true? I think so. I have to check that out. Let's see what else. Vukasan is saying, I get it. It's about sharpening focus. Yes, to a certain degree. It's about, I talk about time quite a lot, and time, people say time doesn't exist, and I'd say that's a misconception. Our perception of time is completely wrong, so how we call and experience time, that is not true. We experience time, if you would see time as like a ruler like this, and you kind of gradually form it on an infinitesimally small, sharp little point of now. But we don't experience that. We experience this point here, and then we distort towards the past. Like, oh, I came from there. I have all these memories, things I did, people who know me, things I've accomplished, and you distort towards that. That's the self being pushed and pulled out. And then you have the future. I have these things that, oh, imagine when I get that new, Mats is going to now, like the new job is coming to, and he'll distort towards that. So we're not experiencing now. We're kind of experiencing now, and then we spread ourselves out. So the focus that we're trying to do is we're trying to focus on this little point here. And if you could actually do that, the self would drop away. It's just ridiculously difficult to do. It's completely uncomplicated, but it is difficult to do because you've been doing this your entire life pretty much. I have small children, and I've seen this happen to them. As they grow up, they start doing this, and it's sad in one way, but I also find it like that's what's supposed to happen. I don't think you can actually stop it from happening. Maybe you can make it less solid, which I try to do, but I have it's difficult. See, Jack, observe the mind till the observer is gone. Have you been there or even close to this state? So I'd say that there's more than that. It's this, you stir, like the observer is the one stirring the stick, and then the stick disappears, but there's still, I don't like that way of saying it. Because it doesn't quite resonate completely. And also you have to realize one more thing, is that, and this is a belief, it's a hypothesis, I don't actually know this for sure, but the way it seems to me is that when I started out, I had distortions everywhere, all over the place, and I wasn't even aware of them. And I gradually started toning these down by looking at them, pulling them away, and going through over and over and over. And then it kind of got smaller and smaller and smaller. And then there was still stuff left. And I had lots of moments, like hundreds, thousands of experiences that people call non-dual, or I call them non-centric, because you don't feel a centered point. They're not actually non-dual or non-centric. They're just less dual, less centric. There is still a sense of self there that's going, whoa, this is cool. Look at this, like this sofa is amazing. Oh my goodness, life is so simple. That awness, that like woe-ness, that's the self sitting in the background going like, holy. So I believe, at least, that if you continue doing this, and it makes a lot of sense from my perspective, how I observe this, is that if you keep on doing this, it makes sense that there's a point where you're able to kind of step over. And I've had moments where it kind of like, it all disappears. And it's kind of a strange feeling, because there really is no self. And it seems if you could just keep on doing that, eventually you'll just flip that over, and then you'll be stuck there. And I mean that in the best of ways. And that's a hypothesis, but it seems like almost like you take away as much as you can, so there's just very little. And sometimes when I sit, it's like I could almost just take a step over there and just make that permanent. But I haven't been able to do that, and I have never heard of anyone actually doing it that way, so I don't really know. But that's what I believe would happen. So ask me in a few years, few months, few days, I have no idea. But That's what I'm working towards and how I believe that it works. Let's see. I see enlightenment as being habitually in a state of calm, collectedness, and content. That's definitely a way there, but I would say that there's much more to it than that. But that's, I mean, if you could habitually be in that state, that's very nice. Obviously, very nice. Oh my God, there are figs on your wall. They're beautiful. Thank you. Yes, there are. There's these beautiful figs. I actually got this wallpaper because when I was in France, in Plum Village, with Thich Nhat Hanh at his center, they had fresh figs. And in Sweden, we just have the figs. You know, you get them in a package and they're kind of burnt, they're like dark and they taste burnt somehow. I don't know if they roast them or dry them or whatever, and you get them, and I just never liked them. But fresh figs, oh my God, it's so good. And yeah, we would go out. I had a friend that I went with, and they had a car, so we'd go out someplace. And I remember this crossroad, and there was a big tree, and we'd just pluck fresh figs. Fresh figs are amazing. Like you peel them up, it's completely different from the ones you buy in the store here in Sweden. So yes, that's why I have them there. Thank you. You're welcome, Jack. Was Jesus enlightened just like Buddha? I have absolutely no idea. If you ask me, I don't even know if the Buddha existed. And Jesus, same thing, I don't know. There's theories that the Buddha is just a collection, like a figure that was invented to collect teachings and make it into a person, so it's easier to teach it. So basically they say that he never existed, but they just created a person with a story to make it easier to relate to with the teachings, kind of. So and it makes no difference for me whatsoever. I mean, I'm not a Buddhist, and I don't know if the Buddha ever existed or didn't, and it really shouldn't make a difference to you either. The question is, the teachings that you read from the Buddha, do they make sense to you? And if they do, then, I mean, what does it matter if he was real or not? I think a lot of the stuff that's taught in Buddhism is very good. I think a lot of the stuff that's being taught is like not so good, and some stuff maybe even downright bad and like counterproductive. But all in all, it's a very nice tradition, I think. So I can't answer that question because I simply don't know. I mean, I have no idea. Is it even a matter of time when it comes to sit under the Bodhi tree for one night? It's like I said, the perception of time, it just kind of collapses. So in a way, yeah, I guess you could say that, but it doesn't feel that way. I remember when I started having these non-centric experiences and really feeling like all the self is dropping away, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can feel it. And when this really starts happening, it's exciting because you can feel so different. It's not that you step into a different reality and it's like, wow, look, there's angels, there's spirits. No, it's really like you just hear, but all of a sudden you see with your senses, you see with your eyes without the distortion, you feel with your feelings without distortion. And that's when you have this, you look at things, you're like, wow, look at this sofa. It's incredible. Look at this pattern here. There's just like all these little, like someone's have woven that, like some kind of, it's insanely beautiful. It is gorgeous. And if you really take the time and you're able to observe it without distortion, this sofa is the most beautiful art piece you've ever seen. It wouldn't matter if this was here and then over there's like a beautiful girl standing naked or dressed or whatever you fancy, or there's a spaceship taking off, or there's an alien saying hi, because those things are not necessarily more interesting than this. It's just that we have this distortion. So we say, I know this is a sofa. And it's not that we intellectually just know it. We actually create a distortion. We're like, okay, I know this is safe. I know this is not going to harm me. I know that if I light it on fire, it could hurt me. I know that it's soft. I know that I can sleep on it. And all of that it's not the knowledge. And I think this is what people get wrong. It's actually a feeling. And when that feeling disappears, that distortion, it's just shapes. It's just fabric. It's just these patterns. And they are in and of themselves absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And that's what you experience when you go out in nature and you go and you just walk and like, wow, it's so beautiful here, and you just feel so fulfilled by the planet, the scent, the air, and the light, and you go, wow, I need to take a photo of this, and you try to photograph it, and you're like, what the heck? It just, like, there's something, I need a better camera because it's not catching it. It also happens a lot when you go on vacation, because then you go to a place where you don't have so many distortions, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's so new. If I could live here, imagine I'd feel like this all the time. No, you wouldn't. You'd feel like that for the first few days, months, weeks, maybe even a year. I don't know. But eventually it would not be new anymore because you created distortion towards it. And then it's just another place. I'm not really sure why I started talking about that. But yeah, that's what it's like when you're experiencing without the distortion. And that's what it would be like for me in how I try to explain it, when you no longer have any distortion left and you're actually liberated or enlightened. And like I said, I've experienced those moments where it feels like you drop over, but you're not actually completely there. I would say absolutely I can't feel a sense of self. I can't feel it, but it is there. And my litmus test is that I have a neck injury and I have this pressure that goes up and down my spine. Some people call a kundalini or energy movement. And when I'm in a non-centric state or non-dual state, that doesn't happen. It stops. Like the thing people call energy or kundalini, it's gone. It's not there. We're in a state of non-centricness or non-duality. But I can then notice when that starts building up, the pressure going up and down, then I'm moving more away from it. So when I have a sitting and that kind of goes away, then I know that I'm in a state of non-centricness, and I can feel that immediately right now. I have that quite strongly. So I observe this, and this is very nice. I don't really need to go somewhere else. I know that it's getting late, and I know that I should go to sleep if I'm going to have a good day tomorrow, or I'll be tired. But just being here right now is very enjoyable. Not because I'm going to get something from it or because this is a special place, because every place, every space is in and of itself special when you're not distorting towards it. I'm not even sure what question that was, or if it's just me ranting. I hope it made some sense to people. Here comes Tantric school, which acknowledges and incorporates these feelings in reaching those weird mind states that gurus in Himalayas have. So this is not a mind state. I have to make a difference here. When you're talking about an altered state of consciousness or a mind state, then you see things differently. That would be a jhana, for instance. Then you distort differently. You still have distortions. What I'm talking about is outside of a mind state. You're not seeing something that isn't there. You're literally taking away the distortions so you can see clearly. And it's not like you see this and all of a sudden it's like, wow, I see the history of the where this come from. I can feel the animal, that the wool. No, that's not something. Then you're talking about something else. That's not what we're talking about here. What I'm talking about is pure, real, factual, right now experience. There's nothing added on top of that. It's just experience. So when people say these mind states, no, that's something else. And which is why I separate what I teach, I try to do at least, from most of what's being taught, because mind states like that sound interesting. They're fun. People want something different. They want to sit and talk to their guides, or they want to sit and feel other dimensions. And I'm just saying, like, you know what? It's just a sofa. And it's not that this sofa is the best sofa in the whole wide world. It's just that shapes, textures, smells, sounds, flavor, scent, everything is really enjoyable when you don't distort, when you don't have a self constantly judging it, constantly putting a distortion towards, because I know what this is. I know, and the knowledge is not intellectual. This is the biggest mistake I think people do, is that they focus so much on knowledge, but it's the knowledge and the information, the mind isn't the problem. The problem is this distortion. And you'll see this more clearly once you've done this a few times, a few hundred times, or a few thousand times. All of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute. The problem is not my thoughts. The problem is how I'm relating to those thoughts. The problem is why I can't see this. And that's what I said when I talked about my child. I can see my son, he's 22 months old now. 21, 22 months old. And I have been able to see how he's changed from just a few months ago, like half a year ago, he would just sit and he'd be perfectly happy, just like, wow. He'd sit like this all the time. He'd take things like, Papa, Papa. He'd really feel. He didn't know what it was, like this. And then he'd take up this sock and he'd go, and taste it a little bit. They had no distortion to us, so you shouldn't put this in your mouth. And then people think, oh, so you're saying I should eat my socks and just like you become dumb? No. And that's the thing. I still have the knowledge that, yes, there's no reason to lick my sock. That just doesn't make any sense. Or you don't need to eat poop. It's just that you don't have the feeling of, when you say eat poop, most people go, ugh. That's distortion. When you smell this and it smells of sweat or foot, I don't even know what it smells like, then you have, ugh. And that's the thing that goes away. That's the distortion. That is the problem. That's why when Vukasin said that it's about being calm and collected, that is a really good first part of it that you kind of need, because you need to get calm and collected before you can actually start observing this. But that's just the first state you go to. You do these practices to kind of calm down, and then once you calmed your mind down, the problem is that most people then don't really know what to do with it. They're like, okay, my mind is calm. What should I do? So what I'm proposing is that start observing these distortions. Start observing how you're constantly in a state of motion, that you can't sit still, that you constantly want to go somewhere else. We're not comfortable just sitting still. No, we need to go somewhere else. We can't just be happy sitting here. I have to go somewhere else. And there's this feeling of constantly movement, constantly not sitting and just being. And that's why I left to become a monastic, because I was so angry and disappointed that no matter how well I achieved my goals, no matter what happened, I always wanted more. I could never be fulfilled. I was really good at what I did, and as soon as I did that, I want something else. I got a beautiful girlfriend. Well, a few months later, I was probably the wrong girlfriend. I should have had someone else, a bigger girlfriend, I say, or like something different, something new, something other than what I have, instead of just being able to just feel what's happening now. And some people have this more than others. I had it. It's not that I was born with less of this. I was born with much more of this than most people, I think. So I was more miserable because of that. It pushed me into finding a solution, and it also forced me to not accept when I, within the Burmese tradition, was, okay, now you've reached this state of enlightenment. Like, no, I haven't. Like, what do you mean? Nothing's changed. I'm still distorting. I didn't have that term then. So that's why I developed my own method, because I wanted to get rid of this. Why do I want more? And what is it that's not okay with being here? Why can't we just sit here and be happy? Because the self says that, no, you need to pull towards that. You need to pull towards this. Yeah, I love talking about this stuff. Passion is the way of Shiva, so there is no harm done. Passion is the way of Shiva, okay. Yeah. Like I said, it's always nice for these sittings. It's nice to sit together, and it's nice to talk together, and I love talking about this stuff also. I'm thinking about maybe cutting these little sessions up and putting them up on YouTube, because it is really nice when we talk like this, and there's a lot of good stuff that comes from the questions. If no one asks questions, then I'll just sit here and drink my tea, and it's not so much fun. But when people actually come with questions, then it gets really interesting. So I am going to go to bed. I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you. And Mats, thank you for borrowing me your calmness and your serenity. I'm sorry if you had a bad sitting. Next time it'll be better. And I'll see everyone on Monday again, and then it's guided meditation. And as usual, we have question and answers after. Thank you, and see you on Monday.